Happy Friday, everyone. Again, this is Kenya Magruder with the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, and we are here at the home stretch. Today is the first day of early voting. This Friday, July the 14th. We are here, we're getting started, and I know that everyone is waiting with bated breath. My guest today is the Honorable Vivian Wilhoite.
Yes.
She is Nashville Davidson County's property assessor. And so let's get into this conversation. So, early voting just got started.
Yes, ma'am.
So, where have you been prior to coming to talk to us this morning?
I've been out working for the people, working to get your vote, working to earn your vote. I was up at 5:30 this morning, went to bed at 2:30 this morning, and I'm operating on all the energy that I will put into the mayor's office as well.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here at the Urban League. So, tell me, you have been a council member and you are currently our property assessor. So when you step in on day one, what is the first thing that the Wilhoite administration would do?
Well, day one, I'm going to make sure I have my hair done before I have my first interview.
It's okay.
Because this morning I've been out at the polls, and of course I tell you the heat is grueling. But back to your question, the first thing I'm going to do is to make sure that the community knows that they are of value. And what I mean by that is that we're going to identify our community leaders. We're going to begin to identify our community leaders. We're going to begin to identify our community groups and organizations, because that's who we're going to be working with, along with individual constituents, to make sure that everyone is aware of our vision and to be able to hear from our community leaders and community organizations. That's so very important. It's almost like going out to inform everyone, but don't tell your family. You got to tell your family first. Now, when I was growing up, my mother used to always say, don't talk outside the house. Okay? Well, we got to first, make sure that the family knows what is going on and receive their opinions on various things. So I think starting first to build that stronger neighborhood, which is one of my platforms, stronger neighborhoods and stronger businesses, but specifically speaking to stronger neighborhoods, that's day one. And of course, day one is 8 hours. So it's more than just that in day one. Also on day one, we'll begin to identify what are the buildable properties in reference to affordable housing, gathering together people who have been doing the work and that's been having the boots on the ground in reference to increasing our affordable housing stock. Because see, that's the reason why we don't have enough affordable housing, is because we don't have enough stock in order to offer to people who need home ownership or rental. And that's just the pure thing of supply and demand. Less supply, higher cost. More supply can drive down the cost, but government cannot do it alone. We have to do public-private partnerships. And Kenya, the only way we're going to be able to do it is working through folks like the Urban League, along with Urban Housing Solutions, and folks like that that's going to help us be able to increase the stock and provide a quality product for people to have accessibility to affordable housing. So those are just two of the things I'll be doing on day one. Of course, I'm going to also on day one is begin to have more conversation, I want to say, with Chief John Drake, where we can get a handle in reference to our crime and what's going on in our city. And to hear his plan in reference to driving down the crime rate and dealing with our youth. That's so very important. So, I would like to say, all of my departments are going to meet with them, no doubt about that. I will be meeting with all of my departments, 55 plus, to talk about, first welcome and say, listen, we're a family, we're going to do this and we're going to be working for the people, but you will be valued. It's a lot of that's going to go into an 8-hour day, but we'll get it done. I'm used to 8-hour days, but they're really 12-hour days.
All right. So you already touched on, you started the conversation on crime.
Yes.
And we know that we're almost 2 weeks into the new community oversight board. And I know you have talking to Chief Drake about that. Do you think that it is incumbent of the mayor to work from inward to build a stronger community oversight board?
I think yes. Let's use that analogy you just said, work from inward to build the oversight board. before you can help someone, you got to get yourself in order, okay? So first we got to establish that plan of how we're going to move forward. We already know the community of Nashville-Davidson County has overwhelmingly said they want a community oversight board.
That's right.
And of course, the overreach that has happened with the state has brought us to the point that has removed it. But it doesn't mean we can't have accountability in a form that would not go against the state, the way they removed the oversight board, going against the law. Let's just say it that way. So we can ask for accountability in such a way that we can, that we want to give constituents the feeling that people are being treated fairly, and that we want to make sure that we also support our police, because we have to have order. But we do want to make sure that people are treated fairly as well.
Because I think the statement that you made to the banner is in working with Chief Drake, and
Yes.
I know that the point of the oversight board is not for, they already have their internal, but externally the oversight board it still had the power to subpoena, they had the power to investigate, and now that has been stripped away. If everything goes well and according to plan, some of that power will switch back to the council, and that subpoena power. So that's why I wanted, that's why I'm.
Well, even though, of course, you're working with the oversight board and not with the chief, I think that we can all work together, because there's going to be some things that we would need from the chief in order for things to be reviewed. And it's kind of like the independent Metro Board of Equalization. They're independent. The mayor proposes who are going to be the members, and the council confirms. But they're independent of the assessor of property. But we still work together.
Okay.
And then when there are things that the board does that we do not have the authority to go against, we respect that. So you're going to have a difference, you have to make it clear in reference to who does what and where the authority will lie in order to make sure we remain objective.
So what other, as we stay in that same sector, public sector and corner, what ways do you see will be also ways that the Wilhoite administration can do for public safety in tandem with the police department? Because the community has to play a role in this.
Absolutely.
And, as we know, that one of the number one conversations when the police come to communities is that they've stolen guns, and we know that that's a huge issue. But what other things can we work on to be a better community and make it more safe?
Absolutely. Well, as I stated before, getting to know who's in our community, who are community leaders. I think a stronger neighborhood are also a neighborhood who knows who their neighbors are. And being able to know who's in your neighborhood. Back in the day, I mean, it wasn't so long ago when I was born. But my point is that, it used to be a time where, children are playing, and people who we know would let our mother and fathers know about when we're misbehaving and give a call. And of course, you can't touch any kids these days, but still give a call and say, I saw your son, or blah, blah, blah. And things like that happen right now in my HOA. And what my HOA members say, I know Vivian, that, we know Leland and what have you, we know Furious and what have you. But just say, what were they doing at the pool, and how they were. And so I talk with them about it. I don't take offense to it. But my point is that you can keep your neighborhood safer when you know who's in your neighborhood. You know who's not in your neighborhood. You know when somebody's driving down your street, maybe, kind of checking things out. So stronger neighborhoods starting with stronger neighbors who are going to be a part of ensuring that they say, see, do, tell what's going on. We have gatherings, all of that, and I think that does help, bring about the safety in our community. And then, of course, supporting the other entities of our legal system, supporting District Attorney Glenn Funk in reference to his pursuit to make sure those who should be locked up is locked up. And of course, supporting Judge Sheila Calloway in her pursuit to help youth understand that there are consequences to the actions that they, when they do things. And I have to say, supporting Public Defender Johnson. And the reason why we're saying support her, to make sure that the right people are locked up and not the wrong people. We want people who have been falsely accused to not be in jail. We want the right people in jail. So I don't hear people saying that, but the public defender is just as important.
Right.
Yes.
So you are a proud graduate of the illustrious Tennessee State University.
Of course I am.
And
yes. Two-time Grammy Award winning.
That's right.
Woo-woo. Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about the growth of Nashville. We know that we have many schools here in Nashville. And people come here for multiple reasons, but we do house 5 colleges right here in this community. How do we keep students from TSU and Fisk and Meharry and American Baptist College right here in Nashville, Davidson County?
Well, first, we want to make sure we're supporting our HBCUs and our colleges of that nature, and of course by showing support, it's providing them with some of the resources that could help students stay here. For instance, even with the bus system, we can provide discounted passes to give students the opportunity to be able to get on the bus, travel downtown or around the city and what have you, and back and forth to school. When I was in school, that was the only means of transportation that I had until I was able to buy myself a car, and when I got me a job. But but I loved it. It was easy, it was safe, it was clean, and it was accessible. And those things are very, very important. But when you think about our HBCUs, that's the type of support that we have to provide them with. Of course, we also do of ourselves to make sure that our alma maters and other HBCUs that's in Davidson County are also already attracting the best and the brightest just by what they do and do alone. But I do believe that those type of resources such as that, doing collaborations in reference to metro government, such as when we may have MLK Day marches or a day of service or various things like that that brings our HBCUs to the center of attention of the great work that they're doing. I think that employing and making sure that those who graduate, we want to keep them here. So we want to meet them where they are by providing the jobs or providing access to the jobs or knowledge of those jobs.
Right.
Because that's how I ended up staying here in Nashville. At the, yes, that's correct. That's how I ended up staying here. Matter of fact, I made sure nobody else wanted to stay here because I took the job off the wall so that I didn't want nobody else to apply, right? And that's what happened. I went to the Career Center. It was a job there that was regarding a career, not just a job, but a career, professional career, to be an appraiser of property for the state of Tennessee. I ended up being the first African American intern for the appraiser of property and went into the position at the Tennessee Public Service Commission. And from there, the rest is history. But my point is, it was in the Career Center. It wasn't me looking to leave Nashville and go to another, place of unfamiliarity or returning back home for that matter.
And Nashville,
and I loved it.
It's more expensive than when you decided to make Nashville officially your home. So what do you tell people when they say, Miss Wilhoite, Nashville is just too expensive. I have to move outside of Davidson County.
Yes,
what do you tell them?
I tell them we're working on increasing affordable housing stock. We want you to stay, and we want you to apply to our metro government for jobs. And I want you to be paid competitively, which is what I do right now in the assessor's office and what I would do as mayor, because I do believe that we have to show the value in our employees of Nashville, Davidson County, because this is how we got to be the good government that we are because of it. Now, of course, some people say there's some things, of course, it needs to change. Well, of course, that. Right. We're not totally the good government, but when it comes to our employees, they are the people who help to make our city great in making sure that it's run efficiently and effectively as much as they can, as long as we're giving them the tools.
Right.
But going back to that, that's what I would tell anyone that's graduating. I will also, tell them to just, just kind of hold on, but we're going to direct you to some places that could have the affordable housing that you're looking for. I would tell them to contact the Urban League in order to get assistance in reference to housing and jobs and preparing themselves for that next level of their journey. Those are things I would tell them and give them those resources. I also would, of course, hopefully with our workforce in our Office of Economic and Workforce Development, we're hoping that the first office, that because we don't have one, but to have one that's fully staffed and one that's going to also work with improving small businesses opportunities. I think that, once we have something in place where people can really get resources and know how they can apply for low income, for low interest rate loans, or how they can be mentored from big businesses that have come here, and we've asked them to give as an incentive. We asked them to give to help small business to be able to operate and to thrive. I think once we have these type of opportunities in place, it won't be hard for people to want to just stay here.
So
But I would like to say something in reference to the cost of Nashville. It's not because it's something that we have done. It has to do with the market. The market, drives how expensive rent is going to be, and how valuable, or what the value is going to be of your property. And so when you think about what people are paying, we have to use those approaches to value in order to provide, or they use those approaches to value in order to set what's going to be the rent. So we have to get the stock. We have to create more opportunities for people to have access to affordable housing. Because when someone for their own personal property want to charge a certain amount of rent, there's no law against that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you think that because the recession did not hit Nashville as hard as it hit other cities across the country, that might have also helped spur our growth, as well as the high income here, the cost of living here?
Well, I believe that Nashville is a new frontier. I mean, okay. God is not making any more land, okay? And so how I see gentrification happening is that, because this is what happened. Mm-hmm. When you say the recession, it was just gentrification showing its ugly head. Mm-hmm. I think that people look around, they say, land value is low there. Mm-hmm. Let's go there, okay? And they go there. They come here. Yeah. And then they come and knock on your door and offer you money.
We had it, they came.
Yeah, we had it, and they came. So, and then, of course, through the time of COVID, there were some things, businesses just were not impacted. Big boxes like Lowe's, people were busy, improving their property because they were at home looking at that hole in the wall, that they finally had time to be their own manager and getting it repaired, and then deciding how to just tear down the wall altogether, Right. So I think more so the fact that gentrification, it was just Nashville's turn. Mm-hmm. And that's what has happened. I mean, It's gone from Miami and various places. I mean, has happened here. And I just wish that which we tried, and I think with the help of the Equity Alliance, with the help of NOAA, and when I went in 2016, I called NOAA in and gave them the agenda to say, get out, tell people, the people who are of age, 65 or older, have a certain income, tell them to get on the tax relief program. Mm-hmm. At that time in 2016, it was under-communicated to the people. Mm-hmm. And me seeing and what my amazing staff showed me about what was to come, where were the values going, and we were looking at the human market, at the market of what people were doing in buying and selling a property. And we knew that we were going to have to use those sales, those comparables, in order to provide you with your value that we give every 4 years. And when we saw those sales happening, they came to me and said, look at what people are paying and paying for properties, and people are accepting for properties. So we knew then in November, I got there in September in 2016, they started doing a little data of research and what have you. Mm-hmm. And by November we were bringing NOAA in to say, hey NOAA, we need you to help us get this information out to the people that they need to get on the tax freeze and tax relief program, because the values are about to go through the roof, because these are sales comparables we have to use in order to arrive at the values for the more than, at that time, 247,000 parcels and commercial properties.
And I will say this, I want people to know that when Ms. Wilhoite came into this office, she became the first African American to hold this seat. And she also did, as what she just said, she made it known to the people in Nashville, Davidson County, that this was happening to you and you needed to start paying attention to it, and also to apply for the property tax freeze, which is any senior citizen in Nashville, Davidson County, if they are 65 and older by December 31st of this year, mm-hmm. that he or she has a combined income of $60,000, because that's mm-hmm. the new that they should apply. So as we move away from that, you want to
Yeah,
touch on something
I do
else?
want to touch on something so that it's clear in reference to where people will go to qualify. Now, when I went into the office 2016, it was the responsibility then, and it's responsibility now of the trustee's office,
That's
as
right.
Erica Gilmore, the trustee's office, to oversee and get people qualified on that program. And if you are watching now, please call her at 615-862-6330 and get on the program. But my point is, I think it's everybody's job to tell the information about programs and resources. It's not any one person's job. We need everyone collectively talking about these programs, because you have to meet people where they are. You may see someone that I don't see. They may be somewhere that they have not seen the trustee, the trustee or the staff. So we have to all join in and doing that. And I've always put the information out to the council members, and got the mayor to be involved.
Right.
But the point I was going to make in reference to that, just to make sure it's clear, it was just being under communicated at that time, and I knew that people were going to be very, very worried about these values, and so we made a really serious push to the point where people are standing outside the building. They can go back and take a look at that in the newspaper, and we really pushed it because we knew that it was important, and we wanted people to get the information regardless of who was responsibility to do the work, because we definitely sent them to the trustee's office. But to the credit of, I would say, of Trustee Gilmore, she's doing a very good job in trying to get the information out and doing a little bit more than previous administration, and because right now people are looking for resources, and we have to continue to provide people information so they can be empowered to make an informed decision.
So as we turn the page to, let's talk about transportation.
Sure.
Because you live in Southeast Nashville, and
Yes.
transportation is a different beast than the urban core. And so talk about, I've heard you, talk about, I grew up in Antioch, so I know, I like to say.
Did you? You grew up in Antioch?
Yes.
Did not know that.
In District 28.
Okay.
So I would say that, I like to say that Antioch is what I call urban, suburban, and rural.
Okay.
So it has a little bit of everything in it.
Yes.
And which means that, like, every street does not have a sidewalk. It's not walkable. And you've talked about that and the access, and talk about what would be one of the first things that you would do from your administration to help transit, but particularly in Southeast, because I think that is where we need to grow the most in transportation. All of Davidson County, but folks are impacted the most.
Well, when you say first thing you're going to do, so we have to look at low-hanging fruit, okay? So I do believe that working with WeGo and the Amalgamated Transit Union, we need to establish expanded bus services. We need to make bus services to be attractive, okay? But when I say expand the bus services, like right now, Kenya, it's very difficult for me to be able to ride the bus because of the distance I am away from the service itself. And of course, expanding also meaning, certain times when the bus will run and what have you.
Right.
And so that's very, very important. That's a lower hanging fruit.
Right.
This administration, John Cooper Mayor Cooper, has already incorporated, funding to WeGo in order to try to expand bus service, but we have to continue to build on that.
Right.
And I think it's very important that we do that with the low-hanging fruit. Of course, with affordable housing, it plays a role with transit, and when you are establishing affordable housing, because someone wants access to affordable rent, affordable mortgage payments
To go to work.
to get to work, put the affordable housing units, build them along to the corridor of the bus services. That's so very easy to do that as much as possible, and create such a way that for people like myself, if I want to drive to a point to get on the bus, make it intentional.
More parking rides.
Yes. Yes.
Parking rides are more familiar to us because of the airport, but if you're in bigger cities, they have a lot of parking ride stations for like their metro and stuff like that, their train systems. So yes.
See, when the 2015, I think it was 2015, transit plan that failed, what happened there is that for District 29 and District 28, it didn't serve us.
Right.
It went by if anyone is very familiar with Nashville, the plan then went only as far as the Highway Patrol, right across Donaldson. That's where it stopped.
Right.
So if you're convincing me to look for dedicated funding or what have you to support a transit plan, I'm saying, how's it helping me?
Right.
And which is the same thing why people ask the question, you're going to put money into a new convention center.
Right.
How does that help me who lives in the suburbs?
Right.
And I'm not going back downtown for a convention. Why should I be paying for that?
Right.
And there's so many, there's reasons why we do, but we may do what we do, but we need to make it clear. And when people know that it doesn't benefit them, it's very hard to support it.
Right.
So it's helping people to understand how it's going to help us is also something we will have to make sure that it's clear and transparent. But that's not just Southeast Davidson, that's many other parts of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about closing the gap on economic parity, and that's in reference to services offered in one neighborhood that's not offered in another neighborhood, but they're paying the same tax rate. Exactly. Or the look, the decorative look of the neighborhood. We must close the gap on economic parity. We're paying for our community to be strong. And we're paying for our community to be safe.
Yeah.
We're paying for our community to provide us with the type of access and the look that is in other communities. And we love our community where we are.
When you talk about the equity, I just alluded to it. We know that everyone in Nashville, Davidson County is not, some people are paying for trash, some people are not. And those are equity issues with us.
Yeah.
The fact that, we talk about the bus system.
Yeah.
But let's talk about something else that's a little bit different from a different type of equity.
Sure.
And that would be, most recently last week, from the action case came down from the Supreme Court, and we know that that's going to start moving into corporations, but also too, it can also impact us in government. Let's talk about the office. I know that Mayor Cooper has a DEI person, and let's talk about the diversity, because this community is 27% African American, and that means we want our government to look that way.
Yes.
We want or better. But we also want to make sure that that means that good folks have good jobs. That look like me, you, and everyone else, but also women as well too. So talk about that and the importance of making sure that we keep that continuity and better in your administration.
Well, it's very important, but it comes with accountability. The Inclusive report that just was released by the Human Relations Commission, it talks about where Nashville have made strides and where we still fall short. I do believe that we must establish goals for all of our departments, establish goals in trying to intentionally create diversity. I just was a part of a forum for disability, and it was held at the Bridges facility for deaf and hard of hearing, and the folks there were very concerned about the diversity of and why it's difficult for people with disabilities to be able to get employed. That's a very good question.
Valid.
Yes, very valid. They need to work too.
Yes, ma'am.
And it shouldn't be they need to work. People need to work. Okay, regardless of their disability, regardless of their color, regardless of their religion, they need to work because people need to work because they have families as well. And in order for our city to thrive, we should be trying to help everyone to be able to thrive as much as possible. The government, again, cannot do it alone. So when I went into the assessor's office in 2016, and I sit here as an African American, or some say black, woman, and being the first African American of Davidson County in this position, as well as being the third African American across the state of Tennessee out of 95 counties, which is pretty huge. When you walk into a room of 95, possibly they're all there. 95 counties has 95 assessors, and I'm one of 2 in the state of Tennessee. So when we have gatherings, there's not many that look like me. There's only another person that looks like me, and that's the person who's the assessor of Shelby County. But my point is that I don't walk in and say, I'm a black woman. I walk in and say, I'm the assessor. And yes, I am a black woman, but yes, I am here to contribute just like you are here to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to know just like you're here to know. So my thing is, at the same time, we still have to be conscious about the fact of who we don't have at the table.
Right.
And so when I took office in 2016, we did a demographic of our office and found that we were, I would say, we had a very small number of African American males in our office.
Right.
Out of about 67, only 4 was African American males.
Is that something that you think that needs to be done in Metro to see?
Well, I do believe that we need to be conscious about
Okay.
who is in our
Who's
in
room.
the office, in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity brings about ideas.
Right.
And as I told one of the attendees at the disability forum, I would believe that someone with disability should be on one of the commissions. You know, as we are building affordable housing, what is it in affordable housing that would be accessible for someone who has a disability?
Walter Cersei sits on the MTA board, and he is a person with disability.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about building affordable housing,
Right.
what about that
Yeah,
too?
as well.
As well, because there's a different perspective
Right.
in reference to moving around your home.
Exactly.
What is the percentage that we should build for those to have disability, to have accessibility to affordable housing?
Right.
So it's a lot for us to think about.
Yeah.
But we have to be intentional, and we
That's
have to be conscious, and we have to be courageous.
Right.
You know, people will question that, but we have to be courageous. And we want all people to thrive. You know, we do. We want all people to thrive. So my point is, I was intentional. We increased to 15 African Americans in the office. And we also want to see more women. So I intentionally be looking for women who will want to come into the profession of being an appraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done well there. You know, young people, you know, we want to bring in young people because we are an aging organization.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people who are there who are ready to retire.
Right.
We need to bring young people in. So that's another group.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have that balance. You have to be intentional in striking that balance and having that representation that really, really makes it rewarding for the city. So when they're out and about in the more than 850 neighborhoods, there are people saying, oh, you know, they see themselves.
Right.
That's good.
So we are coming to the end.
Oh,
I
no.
want you to be able to
I was
get
just
back
getting
in.
riled up. I need another glass, another bottle of water.
Well, I know that you gotta get back out to the
I do.
polls.
I
want to
do.
make sure that you are giving FaceTime to Nashville Davidson County.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
thank you for coming and sitting with me and talking to us. It's important
Yes.
to make sure that we have this opportunity with you.
Mm-hmm.
But also too, I want you to talk to Nashville Davidson County and make your case for why we should support Vivian Wilhoite for mayor.
Wow. Yeah, I do. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Kenya
Yes.
Magruder, for having me. Thank you to your CEO, Harris, for doing such an amazing job in growing the Urban League of Middle Tennessee. I'm so happy to be here. I am Vivian Wilhoite. I am running to become your mayor of Nashville Davidson County. Currently, I'm the assessor of property. I was elected by you, and thank you, in 2016. And we have successfully provided you with the appraisals that are done every 4 years for ad valorem tax purposes. We also make sure that you know that is your right to come and talk with us about the value, and we make sure that you're aware of that. And it's all about the consumer outreach that we provide. As you heard me speaking with Kenya, talking about how we have done the things and changed the environment and the culture in the assessor of property office, those are the same thing that I would do as mayor. We want to be intentional in reference to diversity. We want to be intentional in reference to letting Metro employees know their worth. And we want to be intentional in making sure that we are providing a great product for the people of Davidson County, the citizens who we serve. I came here to Tennessee State University, from Gulfport, Mississippi, 42 years ago to attend Tennessee State University. And I got my leadership, my love for public service there, as I did a lot of things with the Student Government Association. After I graduated, of course, I met a gentleman by the name of Larry Wilhoite. We have 2 adult sons. Furious and Leland, and of course I always tell people I have my 2 dogs because I love the way my dogs love me unconditionally when I walk into the home, no matter where I've been and how long I've been gone home. But as I sit here running for mayor, my platform is stronger neighborhoods, stronger businesses. Think about it. If you want stronger neighborhoods, you want a great job. And when you have a great job, you want to live in stronger neighborhoods. And for so long, as a 2-term Metro Council person, I was told that if you were for neighborhoods, you can't be for businesses. And if you were for businesses, you can't be for neighborhoods. That's crazy. We need both. We deserve both here in Nashville-Davidson County. I want you to know that by doing both, it was stronger neighborhood. It keeps our neighborhood safe. It keeps our neighborhood the way we want to be in reference to living. And we also keep our neighborhood open to diversity in reference to who's in our neighborhoods. As far as stronger businesses, we want to make sure that small businesses are thriving. It's not just big corporations, it's small businesses that we need to make sure, who have been here, that we need to make sure stays here in Nashville and Davidson County. And by doing so, we can make sure that corporations who want to come here to Nashville do their part in making sure Nashville is strong for everyone. And that incentive is to help small businesses to be able to thrive. There's so many things we've talked about here today with Mrs. Magruder, which is in reference to affordable housing, public safety, and public education. I don't think we really touched on that a whole lot, but nonetheless, we'll invest in those things, but we must be intentional in ensuring that success is what the performance we want out of what we do. Working with all of our departments is the start, but we must be intentional, and I use that word a lot because of the fact it comes from getting the work done and starting the work. So we must be able to definitely sit down with all of our departments, find out what is working, and move forward with the vision that's going to help make Nashville better than what it is today. It must be stronger for everyone, not just for a few. And that's where I start, and that's why I want to begin as mayor of Nashville and Davidson County.
Well, thank you, Vivian. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you out on the campaign trail.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.